Hello friends, this is Shubham and today I'm going to talk about the very important topic in histology, that is gastrointestinal tract. In this video I will be talking about the basic histology of the gastrointestinal tract, and mainly I will focus on the layers which are present throughout the GIT. So if you talk about the layers, basically there are four main layers and further they have the subcomponents of it. So first one, talking from the inner side coming to the outer side. So first one we have the mucosal layers, which have the three layers which I will be talking about in this video. And after the mucosa we have the submucosa. Okay, after submucosa we have the muscularis externa, and then we have the at last serosa or adventitia. So talking about the details of these four layers, so first one, in the inner side of our GIT, whether it's esophagus, whether it's stomach or small intestine, large intestine or anal canal. So what are the major layers present over there? So first one, talking about the mucosal layers. So in the mucosa, first layer is towards the inner side, we have the epithelium. Epithelium or epithelial lining. Epithelial lining. So this is the first layer in the inner side of our GIT. Underlying it, there is a layer which is called lamina propria. Lamina propria. Underlying it, we have muscularis mucosae. Muscularis mucosae. Okay, and these three layers comprises of the mucosa. Okay, so I have told you that there are four major basic layers present in our GIT. So on the inner side, first layer is the mucosa, then we have the submucosa, muscularis externa and serosa and adventitia. So mucosa comprises of the three layers. So these are the three layers of the mucosa: epithelial lining, then lamina propria and the muscularis mucosae. Besides it, we have the submucosa. Okay, so we have submucosa over here. This is submucosa. Submucosa. Under the submucosa, we have two layers of the muscularis. Actually, we have the muscularis externa, but muscularis externa comprises of the two more layers. On the inner side, this is our inner side, and I'm coming to the outer side of the GIT. So this is our inner side and coming towards the outer side. So on the inner side of the muscularis externa, there is the circular muscle layer. Circular muscle layer. And besides it, under it, we have the longitudinal muscle layer. Longitudinal muscle layer. Okay, and these two layers forms the muscularis externa. Muscularis externa. Muscularis externa. Now under it we have the serosa or adventitia. Serosa. Adventitia, you can see. So this is the basic histology of the GIT. So these layers are present in our gastrointestinal system. So first one, we have the epithelial lining of the epithelium. Then we have lamina propria and muscularis mucosae under it. So these three layers comprise of the mucosa. This is the first layer. Okay. So this one is the first. Our submucosa is the second one. Muscularis externa is the third, and the serosa adventitious is the fourth. So these are the four basic layers present in the GIT. Now, in any other organ too, these four layers you will come across that these four layers are present in various other organs too. So among those, in the GIT also, these four layers are present. Now, I will be talking about the one by one about these layers and what are the specialties and what about the interesting points about these ones. So first of all, I am taking the epithelial lining. So epithelium, what kind of epithelium is present throughout our GIT? So first of all, I am going to talk about the esophagus. Then we have the stomach. Then stomach is continuing into the duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestine. Jejunum, ileum, small intestine again. Then the ileum is continuing into the cecum. That is the part of the large intestine through the ileocecal wall. And then through the cecum with the appendix, ascending colon, transverse colon, and then descending colon, then sigmoid colon, and then rectum, and finally anal canal or anus. So what epithelium lining is present, what epithelial lining is covering the esophagus? So in the esophagus, we have the stratified squamous epithelium. So I am drawing the rough diagram of our GIT. Over here I will try to draw. So this is our esophagus. Okay, this is our stomach over here. And then this is continuing into the small intestine, for example. This is the small intestine. And over here it is continuing into the cecum. Here is our appendix. Okay, and here our large intestine is coming. Large intestine is coming like this. So this is the cecum, this is the vermiform appendix, this is the ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, then the recta, then the sigmoid colon, and then here is the rectum, and then anal canal. So this is the rough diagram, and you know that here around it, here will be the pancreas, okay, and here it will be the liver, and under it gallbladder. So I'm not talking about that, but this is the basic diagram of our GIT. This is the small intestine, which is through the ileocecal wall, which is joining the cecum of the large intestine, ileum. So esophagus is lined by the stratified squamous epithelium. Stratified squamous epithelium. About the details of the epithelium, I have already made the video on it, so you can watch that video about the epithelium detail. So here I am talking that what kind of epithelial lining are present in the various parts of the GIT. So in the esophagus, the first part of our gastrointestinal tract, the esophagus, they are lining with the stratified squamous epithelium. Now talking about the stomach, they have the simple columnar epithelium. So in our stomach, they are lined by the simple columnar epithelium. Simple columnar epithelium. But remember, there are no goblet cells. They are without goblet cells. Okay, there are no goblet cells over there. Goblet cells are actually responsible for the various kind of secretions in our GIT, but stomach does not have the goblet cells. However, if I talk about the small intestine, in the small intestine the small intestine, same simple columnar epithelium is present. Simple columnar epithelium is present, but with goblet cells. Unlike stomach, they have the goblet cells. They do have the goblet cells, while the stomach don't have the goblet cells. Epithelium with goblet cells. Okay. This was our structure of epithelium actually. Okay. These are the layers from the inside to the outside. So I was talking about the epithelial lining. So here in the esophagus we have the stratified squamous epithelium. In the stomach we have the simple columnar epithelium but without goblet cells. Again in the small intestine we have the simple columnar epithelium but with the goblet cells. In the large intestine again we have the simple columnar epithelium. So in the large intestine also we have the simple columnar epithelium. However, if I will talk about the anal canal, and in anal canal we have 4 kinds of layers present over there. They changes between them. So first one, if I will talk about, they have the here they could have the simple cuboidal, simple columnar epithelium. Then they have the simple cuboidal epithelium. Then they have the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium, and under it they have stratified squamous keratinized epithelium. Okay. So this was about the epithelium location, that as far as GIT is concerned, what is the location of their epithelial linings. Now let me talk about the functions of the epithelium. Now the basic functions of the epithelium are the protection, absorption, secretion, and some kind of exchange. Okay, some kind of sensations. So if I will talk about the protection, about the protective function of the epithelium, then they protect themselves by the foreign antigens or microbes coming into it. So for example, here is the sphincter made up of the pharyngeal muscles. So whatever microbes or antigens are present over there, they are protected by the epithelial lining over there. So here we have the epithelial lining, which is the stratified squamous epithelium. Okay, this is the stratified squamous epithelium present over here. So they are protecting the esophagus from the coming microbes or the antigens, foreign antigens. Also, epithelium are made up of the very closed cells. So they have the tight junction between them. They have the gap junction, or they have the tight junction between them. With the help of occludins and clerodin proteins, they are not allowing any foreign antigen or microbes penetrate through them. So due to these two properties of the epithelial lining, they are performing their protective function. Okay, so let me write the functions over here. Let me draw this side. So now I'm talking about the functions of the epithelium. Functions of epithelium. Okay. The first function is the protection. I already told you about the protection, that with the help of the tight junction between them, gap junctions, so they are not allowing any foreign antigen or microbes to pass through them. Okay, and preventing the any foreign antigen or microbe through them. Also, they are preventing any antigen coming through it. Okay, with the help of stratified squamous epithelium. Now, if I will talk about the stomach, Sorry, one more thing. After the protection, they have one more function, that is absorption. Absorption. So absorption, they have the actually this epithelium have the microvilli, and villi, especially in the small intestine, they have the microvilli, villi, and they have the plica circularis and glycoproteins. So four major things they have. So what are these things? In the absorption function, they have the microvilli over there. Microvilli. They're having the villi. They have the plica circularis and glycoproteins or glycoproteins over there. Okay. So these four major components are helping the epithelium to perform their absorption functions. So first, talking about the microvilli, they are present in all over the epithelium, on the apical surface of it, and they are providing the surface area. So they are increasing the surface area actually, and helping in the absorption of various kinds of nutrients, water, carbohydrates from the gut. Villi, they are mainly present in the small intestine, okay, in the portion of the duodenum or jejunum ileum. So they are also increasing the surface area over there. However, plica circularis are some kinds of submucosal folds in the lumen of the small intestine, okay, and there they are increasing the surface area and helps in the absorption of the food. Glycoproteins are also, these are present over the plica circularis, or they are present over the villi, and these are like the brush border striations over there. So what they are doing, that they are also helping the gut to absorb the food, okay. They're also helping in the absorption of food by the secretion of some enzymes like dipeptidases or disaccharidases. So dipeptidases, it will further break down into the peptides, okay, and the disaccharides also, they will break down into the monosaccharides or oligosaccharides. So this was a function of these components which are helping the epithelium to perform their absorption functions. Now there is one more function, that is secretion. So epithelium is known for secreting substances. For example, they secrete enzymes, various kind of enzymes. They secrete the mucus. They secrete the hormones into the blood. Okay, so epithelium is known for the secreting things. So these are some components which they secrete: enzymes, hormones, or some kind of mucus over there. Also, they secrete the IgA and antibodies, immunoglobulin A. Actually, the lamina propria, immune cells of the lamina propria. So remember, the lamina propria was just under the epithelium. In the mucosa layers, we have the three layers. In the mucosa, that is the innermost side of the gut or GIT. So first we had the epithelial lining, then we had the lamina propria, and then we had the muscularis mucosae. So in the lamina propria, in the immune cells of the lamina propria, immunoglobulins A antibodies are produced and taken up by the epithelium. So through that function also, they are helping in the secretion. So that is also the function of secretion. Further, we have some kind of glands. Okay, so glands, what kind of glands are these? So they have the, if I will talk about the glands over here. Okay, they have the mucosal glands. They have the mucosal glands. They have the submucosal glands. And they have the extramural glands. So what does they mean? So mucosal glands, they are innervating up to the lamina propria only. So if I will talk about the layers over here. So just look over here, focus over here, that if I have this one, for example, so this is the epithelial lining, okay, for example, suppose that this is the epithelial lining, and around it there is the lamina propria over here, okay, this is the lamina propria. Then we have the muscularis mucosae. Here we have the muscularis mucosae with the red. So these glands are what they are doing. These glands are present only over here, up to here. So they are innervating like this or this. Okay. So they are just limiting within the mucosal layer. Okay. These three layers are within the mucosa. These three layers comprised of the mucosa. So they are limiting within the mucosal layers only. Okay. That's why it's the mucosal gland. However, submucosal glands, it is innervating the more layers, okay, or it is penetrating through more layers. For example, this was our muscularis mucosae. Then, for example, we have the submucosa also, okay. So here we have the submucosa, okay, and with the submucosa, under it we have the circular and longitudinal layers of the muscularis externa also. So these are the layers of the muscularis externa, circular and longitudinal layer outside, circular layer more inside. So these submucosal glands, they are present throughout this. So they are present in the submucosa like this. Okay, so they are reaching up to the submucosal layer. About the extramural glands, they penetrate all the layers, okay, and they are extending outwards. For example, this like this, they are extending outwards. They are penetrating all the layers and they are extending outwards. The classical examples of these kinds of extramural glands are the liver or pancreas. For example, in pancreas, you must see that there are the ducts. So through these ducts, various kinds of enzymes and mucus bicarbonate ions are coming in the GIT. So they have the ducts. So with the help of various kinds of cells, for example, exocrine cells in the pancreas, if I will take the example of pancreas, there are the exocrine cells or apocrine cells. So they will secrete the various kinds of special enzymes, okay, which are responsible for the digestion of our food and to provide the alkaline environment in the small intestinal gut, because the acidic content is coming from the stomach. So these ducts, like in the pancreas, they are the example of the extramural glands. Okay, so this was all about the epithelial layer, epithelial lining. In the next video, in the following videos, I will talking about the various other layers. For example, lamina propria and muscularis mucosae. Then I will talk about the submucosa, then muscularis externa, and in the last I will be finishing with the serosa or adventitia. So thank you for watching this section. See you in my next section. Thank you so much.